So you think becoming an Army officer means power, prestige, and respect? That's adorable. The truth? From the moment you pin on that shiny gold bar, your career becomes a battlefield of paperwork, impossible orders, and caffeine addiction. One day you're giving orders, the next day you're getting roasted by a sergeant who's been in the Army longer than you've been alive. And the higher you climb, the weirder it gets. Some ranks make you a leader, others make you a walking PowerPoint presentation. But every single one will test your sanity, your patience, and your will to not throw your government laptop into the nearest river. Today we're going to break down and roast every single Army officer rank, from the fresh-faced second lieutenant who gets lost on base to the 4-star general who hasn't touched a rifle since the Clinton administration. Second lieutenant, 2LT. Ah yes, the baby giraffe of the U.S. Army. You've finally commissioned. You've got your gold bar, your pressed uniform, and a smile that says, "I still believe the Army makes sense." You're technically an officer, but you have zero practical experience, and everyone knows it. Your job? To lead a platoon of 30 soldiers, most of whom have been in the Army longer than you've been able to legally rent a car. Your platoon sergeant? They're your real boss. They will keep you from making decisions that could cause international incidents, or at least keep you from getting lost on the way to the motor pool. A 2LT's natural habitat includes saluting way too much, carrying a map upside down, getting politely roasted by every NCO in the building. And yes, the stereotypes are true. A compass in your hands is a dangerous weapon, mostly to your own unit's sense of direction. But here's the thing. No matter how much everyone teases you, you're still the officer in charge. So when things go wrong, congratulations, it's your fault. The good news? You can only go up from here, literally. There's no rank below you that's still an officer. So wear that gold bar with pride, second lieutenant. Everyone's watching and waiting for you to mess up. First lieutenant, 1LT. The, "Oh, you survived?" rank. You've made it through the minefield of being a 2LT without accidentally calling artillery on your own position. Congratulations. Your single silver bar means you've been around long enough to know just enough to be dangerous, but not long enough to be cynical, yet. As a 1LT, you're in that awkward middle zone. You're still a junior officer, but you're no longer the lovable rookie everyone humors. The platoon sergeant doesn't triple-check your every move anymore. They only double-check. Progress. You've gained the ability to speak fluent Army acronym without accidentally ordering 200 gallons of JP8 fuel. Keep a straight face during ridiculous briefings. Pretend you know how to read an op order while frantically highlighting random parts. Your new challenge? You're now trusted with actual responsibility. That might mean running a platoon flawlessly, or being thrown into an XO executive officer role where you suddenly become the logistics officer, supply officer, and guy who signs for literally millions of dollars worth of gear that you don't actually control. And yes, the captain promotion is on the horizon. You can smell it. But first, you have to survive a few more field problems, about 300 PowerPoint slides, and at least one briefing where someone falls asleep mid-sentence. Captain, CPT, the Army's professional middle child. Captains are the backbone of the officer corps, and also the ones most likely to be found stress-eating an MRE at 2 a.m. in the battalion office. Your 2 silver bars mean you've officially made it, which in Army terms just means you've traded your free time for a never-ending avalanche of emails, PowerPoint slides, and quick meetings that last 3 hours. You're old enough to know better, young enough to still be voluntold for everything. The Army loves captains because they're the perfect blend of experienced and expendable. If you're a company commander, congratulations. You're now the parent of 100-plus soldiers, and somehow also responsible for the maintenance of 37 vehicles, a stack of radios worth more than your career, and Private Smith's mysterious, lost night vision goggles. You will sign so much paperwork that your signature starts to look like a seismograph reading. Daily life as a captain includes getting calls at 2 a.m. about a soldier's minor issue that somehow involves the local police, a raccoon, and a forklift, juggling training schedules, mandatory fun events, and that one lieutenant who keeps innovating in ways that get people injured. Attending meetings where the answer is always, "Roger, sir," even when you have no idea what was just said. Your stress level? Somewhere between coffee is a food group and I could probably sleep standing up if I had to. And here's the kicker. The second you start getting good at being a captain, the Army either promotes you or ships you to staff duty, where your new job is making other captains' lives harder. Major, MAJ, the midlife crisis rank of the Army. Majors are like captains who lost the will to live, but gained the ability to crush a young lieutenant's dreams with a single PowerPoint slide. You've got the gold oak leaf, which means the Army trusts you to run big chunks of the show, but also that you'll never again see the battlefield unless you're visiting for morale purposes. You've officially graduated from doing to managing, which is Army speak for death by meeting. Your calendar is booked solid with briefings, syncs, and planning sessions, where nothing actually gets planned. You don't carry a rifle anymore. Your weapon is the laser pointer you wield in the conference room. Daily life as a major includes drinking coffee so strong it could strip paint, arguing over font sizes in operational orders, explaining to a colonel why the thing they want is technically possible, but will also ruin everyone's life, reminding young officers that yes, there's a regulation for that, and yes, it's older than they are. Majors are also famous for one of two personalities. The burnout survives entirely on sarcasm and black coffee, mutters, "Back when I was a captain," at least twice a day. The motivator still believes they can change the army from the inside, has way too much energy, and is therefore universally despised by everyone else in the staff section. Your biggest fear? Becoming that major, the one who's been on the same base for 4 years and speaks entirely in acronyms nobody understands. Congratulations. You've escaped company command, only to find yourself trapped in a cubicle with a view of another cubicle. Lieutenant Colonel, LTC, the Army's cool uncle, until you mess up. By the time you hit Silver Oak Leaves, you've survived decades of field exercises, staff meetings, and that one time you almost got fired because a private lost an M4 in the motor pool. Now you're either commanding a battalion or running some massive staff section, and the Army expects you to be both a wise leader and a political acrobat. Commanding a battalion? Great. That means you've got 500 plus soldiers, a fleet of vehicles that breaks down if someone looks at them funny, and a budget that somehow evaporates halfway through the year. Your new life is a delicate dance of inspiring troops with speeches that sound like a TED Talk if TED Talks had more swearing, playing "Whose Fault Is This?" every time the brigade commander gets mad, pretending to care about PowerPoint slides you will never read again. Not in command? Then welcome to Big Brain Land, where you write policy memos no one will read and coordinate joint efforts that end with 3 different units blaming each other for the same failure. Here's the truth. Lieutenant colonels are respected, feared, and secretly gossiped about by everyone below them. You're not quite untouchable, but you're close. One bad inspection, one ill-timed comment, and you'll be laterally promoted to a desk job in a basement. The stereotype? You're either the beloved, cool commander who shakes hands and remembers birthdays, or the micromanaging tyrant whose mere arrival makes soldiers sprint to look busy. There is no middle ground. But hey, if you play your cards right, this is your stepping stone to colonel, and that's when the real politics begin. Colonel, COL, the Army's corporate executive, minus the stock options. Making colonel is like unlocking the boss level in the Army career game. You're now in charge of thousands of troops, millions of dollars in equipment, and decisions that could end careers, including your own. You don't just command a battalion anymore. You own the entire playing field. Brigade command, big-time staff positions, maybe even some Pentagon action if you're unlucky enough. Day-to-day life? Imagine a never-ending juggling act between inspiring the troops without sounding like you copy-pasted from a leadership manual, navigating the minefield of Army politics, where a single wrong tone in an email can cause a week-long chain of meetings, managing the fact that every decision you make will make someone angry, probably multiple someones. Colonels are masters of the art of strategic vision, aka talking for 15 minutes without actually committing to anything. You can't just order people around anymore. You have to influence them, which is Army speak for convince them to do the thing they didn't want to do in the first place. The stereotype? Colonels either become inspirational legends who are remembered fondly for decades, or bureaucratic warlords who measure success in PowerPoint slides completed. Soldiers at the lowest levels will barely ever see you, but when they do, they stand a little straighter and silently pray you don't ask them a question. Your biggest fear? Being that colonel, the one who peaked in command and spends the rest of their career being the guy who almost made general. Still, you're just one promotion away from the brass ring, but that next step, that's where the real sharks live. Brigadier General, BG, 1 star, infinite headaches. Congratulations, you've made it. You're a general officer now. People salute you from a mile away, your calendar is booked 18 months in advance, and you've officially entered a world where coffee is delivered, not poured. Brigadier General is the awkward teenager phase of the general ranks. You're powerful enough to terrify lieutenant colonels and colonels, but you're still the new kid among the generals. You're here to prove yourself without stepping on the toes of the guys with more stars than you. Think of it like being the freshman on a varsity team. You've got the uniform, but you're also carrying the water cooler. Your main job? Oversight. You're managing massive operations, overseeing multiple units, and sitting through strategic briefings where every PowerPoint slide could double as an Ambien substitute. You're also the Army's go-to problem solver for crises, which means if someone messes up anywhere in your command, guess whose name ends up in the report? Yeah, yours. The stereotype? BGs are either high-energy people generals who visit the troops, joke around, and shake hands, or ghost generals who are only seen at award ceremonies and congressional hearings. The first kind gets remembered. The second kind gets promoted anyway. Here's the kicker. This is the rank where the army starts treating you like a celebrity. You've got aides carrying your bags, drivers picking you up, and staff members who laugh at jokes that aren't funny. But with great privilege comes great paranoia, because one bad media headline, one botched decision, and you could be the fastest demotion story since the last guy who thought Twitter was a good idea. You've made it into the big leagues. But the next step? 2 stars. Twice the rank, twice the politics, twice the people waiting for you to mess up.
Major General, MG, 2 stars, 0 excuses. You've leveled up. 2 stars on your shoulders now make you the kind of person who walks into a room and instantly becomes the center of gravity. Colonels straighten their uniforms. Captains suddenly remember they have somewhere else to be. And privates, well, they just try not to make eye contact. Major generals are usually in charge of divisions, tens of thousands of soldiers, entire operational areas, and enough gear to invade a small country. The job is part commander, part CEO, part political diplomat, and part babysitter to every subordinate who thinks they're the main character in this war story. This rank is all about scale. Every decision you make ripples across the army. You're approving budgets worth hundreds of millions, deciding where units will deploy, and, worst of all, sitting through endless briefings from people who desperately want to impress you. Your smile says, "I'm interested," but your soul left the room 40 slides ago. Stereotypes? MGs fall into 2 main camps. The battlefield general, charismatic, decisive, and more interested in results than red tape. Loved by troops, feared by the enemy, and occasionally too blunt for the political crowd. The boardroom general, master of buzzwords, loves strategic vision meetings, and could probably run a Fortune 500 company if the army ever kicked them out. Here's the dirty truth. By this point, you're less about personally leading troops into action and more about ensuring the giant machine runs without exploding. Your focus shifts from tactics to politics, both the global kind and the army kind. And the next promotion? 3 stars. That's when you stop being the general and start being the general everyone blames when things go wrong in half the world. Lieutenant General, LTG. 3 stars, 3 times the blame. If Brigadier General was your freshman year and Major General your sophomore year, Lieutenant General is senior year, except instead of prom, you get global crises, congressional hearings, and a phone that rings at 3 a.m. with urgent stamped on it. With 3 stars, you're commanding corps-level forces. We're talking hundreds of thousands of troops, multiple divisions, and operations that stretch across continents. You're not just a general now, you're a political figure in uniform. Presidents know your name, journalists want your quotes, and every private who ever messes up somehow becomes your responsibility. This is the rank where your decisions can literally change the course of history, or at least the news cycle. You're working with foreign militaries, making high-level strategic calls, and dealing with an endless stream of VIPs who want to tour your command but have no idea what you actually do. Stereotypes? LTGs often fall into the warrior diplomat, calm under pressure, smart enough to know when to talk and when to let silence do the work. The politician in camo, always smiling for the cameras, more focused on optics than operations, and somehow never in the room when bad news breaks. And let's be honest, by this stage, you don't attend meetings. You are the meeting. The slide deck starts when you walk in, and people's careers are decided by whether or not you nod approvingly. But here's the twist. You're close to the very top, and everyone knows it, which means every other general around you is sizing you up, wondering if you'll be the one to get that 4th star or if you'll end up retiring to spend more time with your family. Translation: the promotion went to someone else. Next step: full general, 4 stars. The mountaintop and the thin air where politics and military leadership become indistinguishable. General, GN, 4 stars. Infinite responsibility, 0 anonymity. Congratulations, you've made it to the big leagues. 4 shiny stars on your shoulders mean you're now in charge of the kind of military power most countries can only dream about. You don't just run an army unit anymore. You run entire theaters of war, multinational coalitions, and operations that stretch across the globe. You're the person presidents call when things go bad, and the one they don't call when they want plausible deniability. At this point, you're less soldier and more global chess player. You're making decisions about troop deployments, international strategy, and national security policy, often all in the same afternoon. You'll have admirals, ambassadors, and heads of state in your contact list, and your daily schedule is a mix of classified briefings, high-level strategy sessions, and very carefully worded press conferences. Stereotypes? 4-star generals usually fall into the command legend, respected by every rank, feared by enemies, and has war stories that sound like action movies. The political strategist, a master of diplomacy, often more comfortable in a Senate hearing than a combat zone, and always 2 steps ahead of the headlines. And here's the kicker. At 4 stars,
you can't hide. Every failure under your watch, your name's on it. Every success, the credit gets shared with the team. You're also a lightning rod for controversy. If something goes wrong anywhere in your command, you're the one in front of the cameras explaining why it wasn't technically your fault. Make no mistake, this rank comes with perks. Private jets, VIP treatment, the kind of respect that makes even other generals stand up straighter. But it also comes with the knowledge that every decision you make might end up in a history book, for better or worse. And if you thought this was the ceiling, there's one more rank above you. Rare, historic, and not used since World War II. General of the Army, GOA, the unicorn of U.S. Army ranks. You've done it. You've reached the absolute summit of Army ranks, the 5-star general. Except, well, you probably haven't, because this rank hasn't been used since World War II, and unless the US suddenly finds itself in a full-scale world-spanning conflict, it's staying in the vault. This rank was created during World War II, so American generals could be on equal footing with their allied counterparts, like Britain's field marshals. We're talking names like Eisenhower, MacArthur, Bradley, the kind of leaders who didn't just win battles, they shaped entire chapters of history. If you get this rank, you're not just a general, you're a living monument. As a 5-star, you'd outrank every other officer in the armed forces, Army, Navy, Air Force, you name it. You'd have unlimited command authority, unprecedented influence, and a guaranteed place in every military history book for the rest of time. Stereotypes? There aren't many modern ones because nobody's held this rank in decades, but if they did, they'd probably be the war god, capable of running a global war effort like a well-oiled machine. The relic, revered, untouchable, and constantly followed around by documentary filmmakers. The best part? This rank never retires. Once you're a 5-star, you're on active duty for life. You don't leave. You just eventually pass away. And even then, the uniform probably goes with you. So while it's fun to dream, for now, the General of the Army is more myth than career goal. A reminder of a time when the US military was mobilizing on a scale the world had never seen before. And if you've stuck around through all these officer ranks, you already know. Every star you add to your shoulders doesn't just bring more power. It brings more responsibility, politics, and stress. And if you thought the Army officer ranks were ridiculous, wait until you see the Marine Corps. It's like the same circus, but the clowns have more tattoos and yell louder. Go watch my every US Marine rank roasted video. It'll make this look like a calm day at the office.